All right. Well, for anybody who was worried about the Celtics' last loss, the right before the All Star break to the Detroit Pistons, they need not worry as the Celtics return for their first game back from the NBA's All Star activities and dominate the Brooklyn Nets in a wire to wire win in Brooklyn, where the Celtics looked as good as they ever has and looked just like they were the team that ripped off nine straight before falling in a close one to Detroit. I think a really important win to set the tone for this last stretch of the season. Can't really say the second half of the season because the All Star break doesn't really happen then anymore now at the midpoint, anyways. So the Celtics are setting up for this stretch run with the East so bunched up, and every win at this point becomes important, and you can't drop games to inferior teams, and that's certainly what the Nets were tonight, lacking Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons. So it's nothing like what they will look like at full strength. But like I've said many times before on this show, when you play a team that's undermanned or you play a bad team, you should go out and not just beat them, but kick the crap out of them. And that's exactly what the Celtics have been doing as of late, with the exception of the Pistons game. And that's exactly what they did tonight. Like I said, didn't trail at any point in this game. And that continues their trend recently of wire to wire victories and of blowout victories. I think they have six consecutive games on the road of winning by 22 or more points, which is just remarkable. That doesn't happen in the NBA. And what was leading the way for the Celtics was their defense, being able to frustrate the Nets, who were playing a lot of their bench guys, a lot of their backup guys, and force tough shots, force turnovers, force and then for the Celtics to get out and score in transition. And the Celtics did a really good job offensively attacking a less than stellar Nets defense, especially without their key cog now defensively is going to be Ben Simmons. We don't know when he's going to come back. That changes what they are defensively, but if you look at their starting lineup tonight, James Johnson, Bruce Brown, Andre Drummond, Patty Mills, Seth Curry, really, the only plus defender in that group is Brown. Maybe you could make a small case for James Johnson, but Drummond isn't a very good defender at all. Seth Curry is a sieve defensively, and Patty Mills, is just not big enough to be a defensive impact player. And hence, the Celtics put 129 points on the board, all five starters in double digits, and they added double digits from two guys off the bench as well tonight in a really strong win, and a strong more it was more so stronger message coming out of the break that, okay, we slipped up right before it, but the team we are right now is the team that won nine straight and has been playing great basketball since the calendar year turned to 2022. And that's how we are intending to continue to play. Our hallmark's going to be defense. We're going to be playing smart basketball, attack the basket, get our guys open looks. And the Celtics shot the ball pretty damn well tonight, too. 40% from three, which is excellent. 54% from two. You take that. And that results again in a final score of 129 to 106 in dominating fashion for the Celtics. So let's get into the box score here before we get into the comments. Celtics starters tonight, where their typical starting unit, or at least their starting unit that they like to see out there: Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Rob Williams, Marcus Smart, Jalen Brown. Tatum, 35 minutes, leading the way with minutes played in the game. He played very well. Nice, efficient game for Tatum. 10 of 20 from the floor, 4 of 9 from three, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 4 turnovers. That's a little bit too many turnovers, but that's okay in a game where you blow out the other team. You can get a little careless with the ball sometimes. So it happens. 30 points for Tatum on the night to lead all scorers. Al Horford played an excellent game tonight, as I'm sure he could have used the rest that he got from the 8 weeks in between, or sorry, 8 days rather, in between games. 32 minutes for Al, 5 of 10 from the floor. Didn't shoot well from three, 1 of 6. Did have 13 rebounds, though, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 11 points for Al Horford. Rob Williams had an excellent game for himself as well. Another guy who put up a double-double for the C's tonight. 4 of 5 from the floor. He hit all 4 of his free throw attempts, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and 12 points for Rob. Marcus Smart, very, very efficient game for him. 30 minutes, 15 points on 5 of 6 shooting. They were all 3-point attempts, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. Did most of his damage in the first half of this game. And Jaylen Brown, solid effort tonight. 30 minutes, 6 of 12 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3. Hit 5 of 8 from the free throw line. You'd like to see that number be a little bit better. 1 rebound, 6 assists, a steal, a block, and 18 points for him. As far as the Celtics bench goes tonight, everybody played with the exception of the 2 guys that they just signed to 10-day contracts, Taylor Martin and Malik Fitz. They didn't get any burn tonight. Not sure how long they are for the team. The Celtics needed them to fill out the roster, but everybody else played tonight. Grant Williams played 30 minutes off the bench, 4 of 8 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3. Hit his only free throw attempt, had 3 rebounds, an assist, and 10 points, and a good effort off the bench. Daniel Tice, just 6 minutes for him tonight. Did score 4 points and have 2 rebounds. And Derek White continues to fit in quite nicely. Played really good defense tonight. 20 minutes for him, 4 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line. You love to see a guy coming off the bench be aggressive and get to the free throw line 5 times. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 13 points for White. Peyton Pritchard contributed tonight with 14 minutes, was 2 of 6 from the floor. They were all 3-point attempts and finished with a rebound and 2 assists and 6 points. And Broderick Thomas did a nice job in mop-up duty. 5 minutes, 4 points for the guy we don't see very often on the team. Again, all that leads to a Celtics 129-106 victory over the Brooklyn Nets, who will, in a matter of a couple weeks, look very, very different and a lot scarier should things gel there. But hey, you want to take advantage of them when they're down, and that's what the Celtics have done this season. They've beat up on Brooklyn when they have not been at full strength, and so good for the Celtics to continue to roll out now that the All-Star break is behind them, and they need to continue to play their high level of basketball if they hope to get optimum seeding in the East. For them, I do think seeding is important, not so much because of home court advantage, but because their opponent in the first round is going to dictate whether they get past the first round or not. I know I've said for months now they're not going to get past the first round. I'm willing to elevate that to they can get past the first round with the correct opponent. They're not going to get past the second round, but yes, it's a big milestone in my prediction changing. The Celtics now, I'm moving them from not getting out of the first round to the possibility of getting out of the first round with the right opponent. So we will have to see who that is. I'm still not saying that they're definitely a team that's getting out of the first. It's just their odds are much better now that they've figured something out. I think it's fair to say at this point that they've figured out how to play more as a team. Health has played a big factor, that they've been healthy on this run, and that will play a big factor going forward too, as will the buyout market to see if the Celtics can add any more size and shooting if somebody becomes available. That could be helpful. As far as the Celtics' upcoming games, they have a couple of a nice, easy opponents, or what should be easy opponents. The next 2 games, they're both on the road, Saturday and Sunday, so they do have a back-to-back. Saturday is the very unfortunate 12 p.m. game, noon game at Detroit, so they try to get a little bit of revenge there. And then they play Sunday at 5 o'clock against the Pacers in Indiana. And then the schedule gets a little bit tougher from there. Next Tuesday, they play Atlanta, who they beat recently, but they've struggled against them. And then they play Memphis, which should be a game a lot of people will be looking at, because Memphis is a damn good team, and they play a really fast style that I would like to see how the Celtics match up against. And then next Sunday, we will see if Brooklyn is at full strength as they come to Boston, which means that Kyrie Irving will play unless he chickens out again and doesn't play in Boston. Kevin Durant likely will be healthy at that point, and we very well may see Ben Simmons. So in just over a week's time, we'll be playing the Brooklyn Nets, but they may look incredibly, incredibly different, and that could suddenly be a major, major game with major playoff implications for the Celtics going forward. So we'll make sure to keep an eye on all those games and get reaction for you after all of them. Now, let's look at the chat as we got some activity here. As always, we got my main man, Leonard Kim. It's an undermanned Nets team again, but it's nice to see the Celtics are continuing their momentum. Exactly, Leonard. I think this was a sneaky important game for the Celtics because it was coming off of not just a long break, but of a frustrating loss to a really bad team and you wanted to say, okay, can the Celtics did the Celtics let that linger or can they put it behind them quickly? And they answered that question immediately in this game, jumping out to a big lead and dominating the whole way. So any question I had about if that loss to Detroit would affect them was answered and answered in a great way. Leonard, you also said, I think full strength Nets team, despite their dysfunction, still beats the Celtics team. Hard to argue with the talent of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons. We'll see if it gels. I think on paper, it's a great mix. Ben Simmons, I think, is at his best when he's a third option, not a second option, certainly not a first. So I think he'll have a lot more freedom there. We know how good Kevin Durant is when he's on. He's arguably the best player in basketball. And as much as I hate him, Kyrie Irving's a spectacular player. And so if it does work, they're going to be a very, very dangerous team. And I would say if you can get good odds on the Nets winning the championship right now because they're so far behind, I would say put a nice little wager on it because you stand to make a good amount of money, and they certainly, if things click right for them, certainly have the possibility of winning the title. It's relatively wide open for a lot of teams. There's no reason that a team with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons, and I do like the additions of Drummond and Curry to help that team too. And Joe Harris, remember, is going to come back as well at some point, presumably. I think that the Nets are certainly capable of making a run at it. And if you are a gambler, I would suggest maybe putting a little bit of money on the Nets right now. It could pay off. I would imagine the odds are pretty good for you right now. Alexander Wilson talking about my last podcast I did with Sap, arguing about the greatest teams ever. He says, Jet, the 2001 Lakers are one of the greatest teams ever. We talked about them very briefly in that show, and certainly they could be considered. I believe that team lost one game in the entire postseason that year. It was game one of the finals to Allen Iverson and the Philadelphia 76ers, who were not a good finals team at all. Allen Iverson basically carried them on his back. I believe that's the correct year. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Alexander. But yeah, that was as dominant of a Lakers team as they got. The only reason I would put them behind some of the other teams was I don't think they had quite the depth of those 80s Celtics and Lakers team. And Kobe and Shaq never reached the heights of prime Jordan in the 90s. And I just don't think it was quite as loaded again as that Warriors team the first year Kevin Durant was there. But certainly an argument to be made. And you certainly could make a strong case that they were the best postseason team of all time. Um, but I appreciate you watching that and listening to that too, Alexander, and responding. Glenn Caesar says, hi, Jet, at Leonard Kim, at Alexander Wilson. Good win by the Celtics tonight. Way to come off the All-Star break. Thank you, Glenn. Always appreciate your positivity. One of the most positive people I know. Glenn Caesar, good guy all around. Nice guy to give you a lift if you're ever having a bad day. Appreciate you, Glenn Caesar. You are the man. Leonard, what else you got to say? Early afternoon games for the Celtics are a toss-up regardless of the opponent. I don't ever trust them during those times. Yeah, they have struggled mightily in those early afternoon games. I would love to know what the sleep schedule of some of the Celtics players are because when their schedule gets adjusted and changed to having to play earlier in the morning or early in the afternoon, they do not like that typically, and they don't play well. Fortunately for them, I think that they'll have a little bit of revenge on their mind against the Pistons. And the Pistons, despite beating the Celtics right before the All-Star break, are still not a very good team. So if you have to play a team at noon, I guess you'd like it to be a team like the Pistons. So that's what I got to say there, and we will look forward to those next two games, Detroit and Indiana. Hopefully, the Celtics can keep it rolling against two teams they should definitely beat, and I will respond after those games and be here. I appreciate you all. And hope everybody enjoyed the All-Star breaks, having a nice week. And I will chat with you all later. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't watched now, thanks for watching later. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. All right. See you, everybody.